Hello, everybody, and greetings from the airport in Salt Lake City. I am concluding my 683-mile bike ride around the Pacific Northwest, and I'm here in Salt Lake City, flying back from Seattle into the LA area, and I have a 4-hour layover flight. And some of you may remember that I had a layover here 2 weeks ago where I got stuck. And things were not the case this time. I actually arrived at the airport half an hour early. I have a 4-hour layover. And I'm really enjoying the layover because this gives me time to decompress, to kind of reflect back upon the last 2 weeks and prepare myself for what's ahead. And if anybody has ever been to the Pacific Northwest or Seattle, you know it is green. Everything is green. And I've been just surrounded by so many forests, trees, streams, lakes, the ocean for the last couple weeks, that kind of preparing myself to be in an environment that's a little bit drier and not as many trees, and looking around here, just the Salt Lake area, and seeing what I can see out the windows here is a good transition back from this Emerald City green environment to the dryness of Southern California. So I did want to talk a little bit about the trip that I went on, because it was kind of I wouldn't say last minute. We had a little bit of time to plan for it, but I had taken time off to do a trip with some friends in Europe, and the plans for that needed to change, and I still had the time off of work. So my touring companion, who I usually do one ride with a year, I suggested to him, hey, why don't we do something out of your back door? Do something that's more camping oriented, so the miles don't have to put in umpteen miles a day like we do on a lot of our trips, where we do 60, 70, 80 miles a day. Do something with a little bit less mileage and a little more camping focused. And he put together this amazing ride where we set out from his house south of Seattle and rode to Seattle, took the ferry to Bainbridge Island, made our way up to Port Townsend, Port Angeles, took the ferry over to Victoria, did some camping on Salt Spring Island, then ended up going back to Port Angeles and going all the way down the coast to Tillamook, Oregon, where we crossed over the mountains to Portland, and then yesterday took the train back into Seattle. Had an amazing trip. And like I said, it was not something that was a destination that was like, ooh, I really want to do this. The irony is I did a trip over 30 years ago where I was looking out the window of a car and made the comment, this is beautiful, but this would be so much better on a bike. And 34 years later, guess what? I finally got to do it on a bike, and I was right. It is amazing on a bicycle. Now, I know a lot of you out there aren't cyclists, and that is fine. Drive in a car, do what you need to do to enjoy it. Just get out there and enjoy it. But for me, I like to see the world from a bicycle. And not every day was like, oh, yeah, great, let's go out there, let's jump on that bike, let's do this. Because there were some days where I knew we had some climbs in front of us. I knew the weather wasn't going to be the greatest. The winds weren't necessarily in our favor. And I knew that there was a lot of traffic and a lot of shoulders on the road. So a little bit of intrepidation in front of me. But I also reframed things knowing that as soon as I get on the bike and get moving, that all of a sudden, just that mindset of being on the road just totally clicks in, and I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and my head is just trying to live in the moment. And that's really what I've been focusing on this trip, is really trying to capture each moment. Now, life is kind of like a roller coaster train that's left the station. It just keeps moving forward and sometimes getting faster as it goes along. And trying to catch a moment is like trying to catch it in a dream catcher. It just slips right through. So it's important for me to enjoy every moment that I have, even on the times where it might be raining, drizzling or having a headwind, or if I find myself getting off my bike and walking up a mountain. Either way, I realize that this is the moment I'm in, and I'm going to try to make the best of it. Didn't have huge roller coaster parks on this trip, but was able to, the first day, get to the Washington State Fair and ride a couple roller coasters there. And the trip itself, I would say, looking back, characterized, it was really good as far as just kind of connecting with my higher power, connecting with the environment around me, and connecting with some old friends who I hadn't seen in a while. That really kind of always adds to the trip. There's always a human element, a connection of the trip. And the first day out, we were out riding and stopped at a fast food place just to kind of get something to eat, and noticed that it was starting to drizzle. Looked on the forecast on the radar, and a big, huge system was coming in. There was a dollar store across the parking lot, so I ran over there before it got too rainy, and I bought a deck of cards and some dominoes. And my friend Philip, who I'm cycling with, he and I sat in the restaurant and just played dominoes for about 2.5 hours until the storm blew over. And that was just perfect timing and a great way to kind of deal with the day. Knew that there was going to be an end to the storm and no reason to rush and get on the bikes and get wet. So stay dry, let the storm go overhead, and everything was good. Looking at our routing, we camped out the first night, had a great day in Port Townsend, connecting with some old friends, connected with some friends over in Vancouver Island. The other place that we camped after that was on Salt Creek Island. And not only was it just an amazing place to camp, but all night long I could see the ferry boats go by. So there was like this intrinsic activity, and I could just feel the vibes of the people on the ferry boat, all these people going to some new destination. It was just, I don't know, I just like thinking that these people all have this optimism of where they're going and excitement of being on a journey, just like I have optimism and excitement when I'm on a journey. And headed down the coast. I wasn't sure we were going to make it as far as Tillamook, Oregon, but in a blink of an eye, I'm standing out in front of the Tillamook cheese factory eating ice cream, and toward the end of the trip. But just met some really, really amazing people on the trip. We're hosted by some really amazing hosts and just given a lot of really super warm family-like hospitality. Can't say enough about that. And my mind on the trip also went looking forward, because I have kind of the possibility when I get back home that I might be on strike. I work for an organization that is union intensive, and my union is in negotiations now for a contract, and there's a chance that we might be striking in a couple weeks. And I don't know if that's going to be for a couple days, a couple weeks, or even a couple months. So I use this time to kind of get into my head and plan, how can I make the best of that time? How can I, not freak out about this and just really stay calm? And I'm hoping we don't go to strike. People that are affected by the strike usually are the patients, and my heart goes out to all the patients in that respect. But what can I do for myself during that time if that's just what I end up doing? And I want to keep my intimacy ram in balance and my realms in balance, and thought about different household projects I could do, different places I could ride on my bike, different opportunities for volunteering, and even opening up the private practice again and having a few slots of individual to still be able to kind of work my craft and help other people during that time. So having flexibility is really important, and I'm optimistic about that. I feel like I'm at a place in my life where regardless of what happens, I'm going to be okay. And on this trip, one of the things I had to worry about was also, at this point in my life, take care of my inner senior citizen. I'm 62 years old, and I've had some really flat terrains the last few trips, and on this trip I had some mountains to go over, some steep climbs, and a few days of really bad headwinds, and I had to pace myself, and I did that, and I feel like I really took care of myself on this trip. Um, in the past, I was young, and I would push myself, and at the end of the day, I would feel great, sleep really good. Now I push myself, and I feel achy, and I'm starting to feel my age, and that's okay. I figure that this is like my, I think, 60-second long bike tour. And my friend Philip, who I've been cycling with, this is, I think, our 26th or 27th tour that we've done together. And I totaled the miles up the other night, and we have ridden together over 33,000 miles. Now, I know my numbers are like alone without him are like way astronomical. But to think that I have a friend in my life that we travel well enough together that we could spend 33,000 miles together and are looking forward to planning our next trips together. I retired one of my bicycles 20 years ago, and I retired it at 62,000 miles. And I know it was 62,000 miles because I was very diligent with that bicycle, replacing the batteries in the bike computer every 2,000 miles. So I know at 62,000 miles when I retired the bike, that was fairly accurate. And that's 100,000 kilometers if you want to do the exchange rate on that. 20 years ago, I've done a lot of cycling in the last 20 years. So I'm guessing I've cycled at least 100,000 miles in my lifetime. And really grateful that despite mechanical problems, traffic, that, knock wood, here I am still today living to talk about it and have had nothing but good experiences. So very thankful for that. Anyway, I'm looking forward to coming back home, and I thank you all for following along. I'm very grateful for having the people that follow me. I feel like you're in my pocket sometimes, and when I am having times of doubt, I know that I'm not doing this alone, that I've got people that are, rooting me on and cheering me on and are living the trips vicariously through me. So I've really enjoyed sharing some of the moments with you in previous videos, and I have another video that I did that I'll edit and put together once I get home. And so thank you for all your support, and hopefully you'll be following along on the next trip and the next times I do some speaking. I've got 3 gigs lined up to speak when I get back, and I can post the links for that in the chat here, maybe when I get done. Anyway, I got to figure out how to turn this thing off. Not even sure if it even recorded, but anyway, if it did, I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you down the road.